Hello everyone, we are the Innovative Impalas, and for our HCI Foundations project, we are looking into improving the FAFSA filing experience for applicants. So for table of contents, we have our executive summary, followed by our requirements gathering, then we will go into design requirements, we will also go into our design ideation, and we will be ending with references. So just an overview of what the FAFSA is. It is a free application for federal student aid. This is a key form for U.S. students to apply for federal, state, and institutional financial aid for higher education. It assesses financial need to determine eligibility of grants, work study, and loans. It helps by determining eligibility through family income and household size to calculate aid. There's also different types of grants, work study programs offered, and loans, and it provides need-based support for tuition and living expenses. Some key points are that it's required each year to maintain aid. State and institutional deadlines differ, and it is used for federal, state, and institutional aid. So for some statistics, there's the first one: 1 in 10 students who qualify for need-based financial aid do not submit the FAFSA. These students miss out on financial assistance by not completing the FAFSA due to confusion on the process, lack of awareness, or misconception about eligibility. 1 in 3 students who failed to file a FAFSA would have qualified for a federal Pell Grant. A considerable number of students who don't complete the FAFSA miss out on a federal Pell Grant, which is specifically designed to assist those with the greatest financial need. These grants do not have to be repaid, offering vital financial relief. One final stat is that 1 in 6 students who have received the federal Pell Grant and meet academic requirements do not renew their FAFSA. Even after successfully receiving aid through the Pell Grant, many students fail to renew their FAFSA the following academic year. So some things we noticed are that there's difficulty understanding legal and financial jargon. We found that 30% or 30 to 40% of first-generation low-income and non-English speaking students find the process challenging due to its complex legal and financial language. We also noticed that there's a lack of advisors and spreading of misinformation due to confusion about eligibility. We noticed that there's challenges in accessing support for the FAFSA. So there's unburdened counselors and inadequate financial aid outreach for students to access. One final thing that we noticed is that there's complexity as a barrier to completion. So the detailed questions on the FAFSA regarding income, taxes, and dependency can overwhelm students, particularly those with limited support, leading to high non-completion rates.
So in general, our overarching research goal is that how might we increase FAFSA completions among first-generation college students.
Our work is relevant because we want to support diversity, equity, inclusion, and financial aid access, and we want to understand this group, creating a more accessible FAFSA experience.
Next is the requirements gathering section, and we'll be introducing what methods we use to collect our data, and we'll talk about our participants, and we'll be providing copies of research instruments, and we will be talking about affinity mapping and task analysis.
This combined approach aims to gather user insights in a more holistic way by embedding the user testing process within real-world user stories. The method starts with the user recounting their experiences, followed by the testing phase, and then concluding with the user reflecting on their experience through storytelling. We chose this approach because it emphasizes the importance of understanding user behavior and context, which can help reveal deeper insights into how users actually engage with the FAFSA application. We found this to be useful for complex systems like FAFSA, where user interaction is colored by student skill, familiarity, ease of access to tax and financial documents, and more. For this project, we chose to focus on first-generation college student applicants aged 18 to 25. We engaged with 4 participants, interviewees 1 and 4, who are first-generation students representing a key segment of our target population. Their insights highlighted unique real-life experiences in seeking sufficient financial aid, as well as contextual factors they face, such as limited family support, confusion over financial terms, and reliance on external sources. Interviewees 2 and 3 are included as an American student who has never applied for FAFSA and an international student who's also unfamiliar with the process. Their fresh perspectives as they navigate the site for the first time during the session mirrored the experience of first-generation students applying without support. This revealed characteristics of those who encountered informational gaps or misconceptions about the FAFSA process, and each session lasted approximately 45 minutes. We began asking questions about their backgrounds, challenges, resources they had, and then conducted interviews over Zoom, where they shared their screens to demonstrate how they searched for FAFSA deadlines, assessed eligibility, and tested the usability of the FAFSA application. For the last part, we utilized the 2025 FAFSA prototype that was released by the Department of Education, which, despite being a prototype, contained the essential workflow structure and questions needed for our testing. From the interviews, we identified a common struggle was searching for FAFSA deadlines. To explore this further, we performed a task analysis, discovering that searching for deadlines is complex and iterative due to the varying deadlines of state, federal, and school. Contextual factors here include digital literacy, familiarity with the college application process, having internet access, or availability to technology.
So this is another task analysis that we did, basically describing the FAFSA application form process. So there's 6 different plans that we went into. Going into plan 1, which goes into a student's perspective that has no FAFSA experience. Plan 2, going into need-based financial process for a student that needs that financial assistance. Plan 3 is from a first-generation college student perspective. Plan 4 goes into international students with no FAFSA experience. Plan 5 goes into non-traditional students that are emancipated, undocumented, and more. And Plan 6 goes into students applying with divorced parents. So some characteristics that we noticed are digital financial reporting requires extensive financial information, and eligibility of financial aid is based on correct stating of income, family circumstances, and their EFC value. And the FAFSA must be completed and submitted every year for continued eligibility. And some contextual factors that we notice are the financial independency complexity. Students often face challenges like reporting income with divorced or step parents or managing their independent finances. They also experience access to information and resources. They have limited access to information or technology due to language barriers, lack of parental support, or unfamiliarity with financial terms. And finally, there's a lack of familiarity with the FAFSA process overall, with little or no experience or exposure to the process. And these students often struggle to navigate forms, understand requirements, or meet deadlines, which is crucial for their aid process.
Using Dovetail and FigJam, we performed affinity mapping. We identified common themes that emerged. These themes, combined with insights from our task analysis, led us to 7 key research findings. Emily will discuss this in more detail in the next section.
Next, we're going to dive deeper into the affinity map themes and discuss how they inform the development of our design requirements. For our first key research finding, I feel that FAFSA doesn't accommodate me. We learned from our users that there were instances where they had trouble with the application because their parents were not as familiar with English, and they even had to support their parents with the filing process due to the language barriers. Furthermore, one user even mentioned that, quote, "It's almost like it doesn't want you to apply for FAFSA basically," end quote. This led to design requirement number 1, increase inclusivity by encompassing a comprehensive and diverse range of cultural backgrounds. We want to note here that there is a need for inclusivity of backgrounds beyond cultural, but we wanted to focus on the language and cultural aspect due to the compelling research we found regarding the unique struggles of students of ESL parents. Our second key research finding was I go to people and trusted websites to answer my questions. Users tend to favor trusted websites such as those ending in .gov or .edu, but it was interesting to learn that users will seek out the help of a real person because they're able to use natural language and get a more personalized experience. This led to our design requirement number 2, enable tailored context-specific support and guidance that addresses individual user needs. Our next key research finding was I don't understand how FAFSA works. Notably, user 4 was quite anxious during their interview session when trying to search up their eligibility for FAFSA. Additionally, one user mentioned that they don't know what else they could possibly do with FAFSA besides Pell Grant and federal loans, and that if they hadn't been through the FAFSA process before, they wouldn't know what a lot of these things meant. This led to our design requirement number 3, convey clearly what FAFSA is and what the process entails. For our next research finding, FAFSA leaves me confused about the future. Our user spoke to ambiguity in the process that makes it difficult to plan both academically and financially. This led to design requirement number 4, allow users to understand their different potential options for financial aid. This would subsequently increase transparency about award amounts and financial aid opportunities for first-gen low-income students who make up the majority of the population who rely on need-based financial aid to fund their higher education. Our next key finding was, I struggled to find the FAFSA deadlines since they can be different at the school, state, and federal levels. We found that across the board, all of our participants had trouble identifying their FAFSA deadlines. This led to Design Requirement 5, clearly communicate deadlines to users and ensure that they are on track for timely submission. The next key research finding was, I have trouble finding information that the FAFSA application asks for. Between the financial jargon and sifting through documents, we found that users were resorting to guesswork on their FAFSAs. This led to Design Requirement number 6, efficiently and reliably communicating where to find personal information that is required by the FAFSA application. The final key research finding was, I feel overwhelmed by the information on FAFSA. Users noted feeling overwhelmed by the text-heavy screens and the use of specialized language. This led to our 7th design requirement, utilize effective information architecture to simplify the content presented to the user.
We plan to user test our prototypes by scheduling follow-up interviews with our interviewees and deploying a system usability scale survey to measure how successfully we implement our design requirements. Going off to the design ideations section, we'll be talking about the description of ideation process, and we will introduce our 10 design concepts through sketches, and finally we will talk about our top 2 design ideas through detailed descriptions and storyboardings. And here's a recap of our how might we statement, and we will be using this as a beacon to guide our ideation process. For rapid ideation, we use the Scamper framework to firstly come up with 50 ideas about how might we approach the problem of improving FAFSA completions among the student groups that we are interested in. From our 50 ideas, we narrow down our 10 best ideas based on the considerations of usability, feasibility, and most importantly, whether these ideations fit out the criteria of our design requirements. Here's a recap of the design requirements that we mentioned earlier in the slides. And the 10 ideas that I'll be introducing soon are all narrowed down based off this design requirements. Next, I'm gonna introduce our 10 ideations with their sketches. And on the slides, you can see on the bottom that we indicate which specific design requirements each ideation meet. First, FAFSA Cafe. This creates a welcoming space where students can file their FAFSA alongside with their peers, with expert guidance readily available, fostering community and providing direct, personalized help to meet diverse needs and clarify the application process. FAFSA Chatbot. The chatbot offers real-time, tailored assistance during the FAFSA filing process. This can simplify complex terms and ensure users from all backgrounds can navigate and complete their applications effectively. Dedicated FAFSA counselor. By accessing a specific counselor for FAFSA-related queries, this design ensures students receive focused support, helping them understand their aid options, meet their deadlines, and manage the application with expert guidance. Educational FAFSA board game. This game turns the often daunting FAFSA process into a fun educational group activity that helps communicate deadlines and where to find information through engaging gameplay. FAFSA helpline with on-call counselors. A direct line to FAFSA experts provides immediate, personalized guidance, enhancing accessibility and support for all students, ensuring they understand the process and their options for aid. FAFSA Mobile Companion. This app makes FAFSA completion mobile-friendly, allowing students to work on their applications anytime, anywhere, ensuring inclusivity and ease of access with meeting all the key requirements of the process. FAFSA TikTok account. Using a popular social media platform, this idea disseminates FAFSA information in a format that is more engaging for young users, clearly explaining the process and highlighting key deadlines with entertaining content. FAFSA Calendar app. By integrating FAFSA deadlines into everyday calendar apps, this design helps students keep track of important dates, promoting their submissions through reminders and efficient communication. FAFSA web extension. This tool helps students directly within their browser by offering different forms of assistance, such as error checking, autofill capabilities, and this will make the online filling experience smoother, more inclusive, and error-free. Finally, live study session on FAFSA website. These sessions bring expert-led, real-time guidance to the official FAFSA platform, providing an interactive learning environment where students can get immediate answers, understand their options, and meet application deadlines. From all the 10 ideations I just introduced, we settled down on our top 2 design ideas, which are FAFSA Cafe and FAFSA Mobile Companion. And we will be explaining in detail why we chose them in the following slides.
Our first concept, FAFSA Cafe, takes on both an in-person and remote support experience. In the in-person experience, the student arrives at the FAFSA Cafe. They fill in a check-in form asking about their needs, goals, and drink of choice. The student grabs their drink from the counter with the number of their assigned table, and they go to their assigned table where their dedicated FAFSA counselor is waiting for them. The student and counselor work together through the application, and the satisfied student leaves the FAFSA Cafe and receives a visit summary email from their counselor. In the remote support experience, a frustrated student sets up an appointment with a FAFSA counselor online. The student dials in during her scheduled FAFSA counselor meeting time, and the student is connected with their FAFSA counselor. The FAFSA counselor walks through the confusing parts of the application with the student. At the end of their session, the FAFSA counselor sends the student a summary of their call. The student is satisfied and confidently submits her FAFSA. Let's connect it back to our design goals. Based on their check-in information, students and parents are matched with a counselor with specific background knowledge tailored to their needs. Students can also have the option to bring their parents, and they also have access to counselors who speak different languages, allowing them to receive equitable support and guidance. The counselor walks through an introduction of FAFSA and what the process entails and provides students and whomever they brought with them with an understanding of their potential financial aid options at the beginning. This transparency allows the student to get a general understanding of FAFSA and its use cases. The counselor is also able to provide in-context support regarding eligibility and terminology questions, as well as what documents are needed for the filing process. The counselor will provide the student with a summary of their session with a roadmap for next steps at the end to ensure that they're on track for timely submission. The strengths of this concept are that it gives users the flexibility to set up a dedicated appointment time or do a walk-in appointment at the physical cafe location. It also allows users the possibility to engage their parents and guardians in the process in a cozy, non-intimidating environment, or choose to navigate the FAFSA experience solo, depending on their individual preference and circumstance. Users are able to connect with real people who are able to provide them with targeted help and advice. The FAFSA counselor can discuss 8 options and help students set up a roadmap for actionable next steps. And the FAFSA counselor can better aid with confusion and context as the student is actively engaging in the process. The FAFSA counselor can break complex topics down into smaller digestible chunks of information and explain them in everyday language, or even provides translations for ESL students and families. The potential weaknesses of this concept are that implementation in real life could be difficult. There's potentially high costs due to the need for space, counselors, beverages, etc. And there's also the need to consider the logistics and considerations of a physical space that allows for drop-in appointments.
Design idea is a FAFSA mobile application. The system features include improved information architecture, a more intelligent chatbot, additional language options, and integration with the reminder and calendar apps, thereby enhancing accessibility for all users. This app will provide instant notifications about the FAFSA application status, deadlines, and required documents, thereby checking in and also motivating students, especially those without any external support. By integrating the search for deadlines and eligibility as the first step, it also streamlines the FAFSA filing process and thereby reduces cognitive load for the students. We prioritize inclusivity through translations for the QA chatbot, looping in parents who may not speak English, which is a common situation for many first-generation college students who have immigrant parents. On the flip side, challenges for the app include ensuring a responsive design for smaller screens and addressing potential exclusion of students without smartphones or reliable internet. Users may also become overly reliant on app notifications, thereby neglecting other important communications on emails and letters, and in time viewing the app as less credible than traditional methods.
And here's a slide to summarize what we've been talking about for the top 2 design ideas. And here's the reference we used. Thank you for your attention.